Alright folks, new welders here. You can probably guess the color. The reason I bought this, right now they've got a $499 rebate to the manufacturer, and plus it was a little cheaper to start with, so it's close to $800 cheaper to buy a Lincoln than it was to buy a Miller. It's only second new welder I've ever owned, and the first new welder was a Lincoln, the old Tombstone stick welder. And I bought it 26 years ago, and still works just fine, and at least that long. And so we're gonna see how this works out. I don't think I'll have any issues. I've done a lot of research and watched a lot of videos on them, and people seem to be pretty happy with them. So we'll see how it does. All right. Okay, so I went around it good, looked at it, made sure there wasn't any damage, anything like that. Everything looks really good. Fit and finish, the stuff that really don't bother me, but some people worry about little things. So looks really good, no issues, no problems. There's a lot more options on this I'll have to figure out as I go. This came with a 15-foot lead. Mine has a 10-foot. I put a 15-foot Radner on it, and I never liked it from the day I put it on. And I went back to my 10-foot Miller lead, but this one's factory with a 15-foot. The cord's 10-foot, which is longer than what my Miller was. So so far, everything that they've done to this one is stuff that I would have liked to have updated on my Miller. But like I said, I can't really judge this in comparison to a newer one. So, or a newer Miller. But, so far I'm not seeing anything that I don't like. And I run 44-pound rolls because, for me to run anything lighter than that's just a waste of time because I do so much welding. And price-wise, $2,495 plus a $499 rebate. So you figure, just under $2,000. That's shipped here, delivered. Comes with lead, comes with everything you need. It's got the gauge, everything for your Unimix, and I'm assuming they got a regulator, not a flow meter. I don't know, I have to check, but it's got a place for the feeder and a different one for the spool. So I think you can have two tanks. You can have one with Unimix and one with straight argon. So you can run your spool, you don't have to swap back and forth. And like I said, this could be stuff that the new Miller has too. I'm not trying to compare this to a new Miller. I'm trying to compare it to a, the Millermatic 250 I've got, which is a really old machine, but it's always done me good. I'm not dissatisfied with it, even though I'm having issues with it, because if everyone realized and knew how much I welded with it and how much I, ignored the duty cycle and just welded away with it, and I've built a lot of trucks, a lot of wreckers, and I mean it's been abused and worked hard. But like I said, for the price, I couldn't replace it, as cheap as I could replace it with a Lincoln. Okay folks, the welder review, what you just watched, it's been months, and I did not feel comfortable giving any kind of a review on this welder before I got to use it some. And one of the reasons is I didn't understand how everything worked, because I stick welded for years and years and years, and then the Miller 250 Millermatic was the first actual wire welder I had ever bought, and then of course this being the second one. And the Millermatic I used for a lot of years. I liked it, very good machine. This one I really like, have had no issues with it so far. I didn't, I'd done a lot of little sheet metal welding and stuff like that, but I didn't do any heavy welding with it. And I did not want to, come on here and say, oh, it's a good welder or it's a bad welder or something like that, but and not, know the machine a little bit more and actually, go in and do some heavy welding with it, which I've done now. So I feel a lot more comfortable And figuring these all this extra stuff out without reading the directions, you know, that's of course that's the last thing you want to do. But you know, finally the spot time, the run-in time, the burn back, and the trigger, the 2-step, 4-step. This accidentally got put on 4-step one time, and didn't take me long to figure that one out. And you know, spot times when you spot weld, and the length of time the run ends. You know, when you starts at a lower amp, builds up. Burn back is when you let off of it, whether it keeps going or not. And you know, it's just stuff that I did not know because the other welder didn't have it. This is not necessities. Do I like it? I'm not going to say I do or don't. I'm just going to say that it's not needed. Maybe in the future, you know, it might not be too bad. The 4-step, this is, you know, you hit the trigger once and it stays welding. You can let off the trigger. Now that may come in handy when I really go into getting back on the wrecker and doing some heavy, you know, really heavy welding and stuff. And you tap it again and it, you know, of course quits welding after that. And but for now, for what I'm doing, what I've been doing, you know, it's not, none of this has been an advantage. But I guess it's not bad to have it. I mean, you know, if it's something that, you know, you might end up you know, using or running into. And as I weld more, I'll play with that more, and I'm sure it will you know, maybe come into effect. But I just leave everything turned down, leave it on 2-step. Let me see, a couple of things I really like about this machine. Now one of the things is of course, if I get a spool gun, you know, you can plumb this up with the tank and you don't have to switch tanks. That's one of the good things. But one of the really, I mean, these are just little stuff. Now I mean, I gotta admit, I like the cup holders. I drink Pepsi, everybody knows that. Good place to set them. I like the fact that this opens up. You got a place to put your tips. That's really nice because, you know, I've had issues of losing tips, you know, a whole pack of tips. I had a buddy, I had him laying in a particular place, and a buddy come in and he moved them and we never could find them. So, you know, it was one of them deals where if they would have been in there, been no issue. So that, I mean, that means a lot, really, believe it or not. That means a lot. Now, and I'm not saying that Miller don't offer this stuff, and it don't, maybe it comes with the new Millers when you buy it, but this is just stuff that my Millermatic 250 didn't have that this does have that I really like. You know, a place to you know, wrap your cord and hang your lead up. That's you know, that's nice, because if not, you're wrapping it around the tank, and at least you have a place to put it. Okay, one really big advantage for me, because I'm not working in the shop all the time. I'm rolling the welder out the door and working outside. And something that really saves me a lot of time and trouble is right here, having these 110 outlets. It makes it so much nicer to not have to drag an extra cord out. You don't have to, you know, come in here and undo a cord or find a cord or anything. You know, it's one less cord you got to mess with and get tangled up. You know, you can just run straight from this welder right to, you know, run your grinder or whatever. That actually means a lot too. So the little stuff, you know, I don't know that it would have mattered that much. Like, let's just put it this way: if I would have found a new old stock Millermatic 250 because I liked the machine so much, I probably would have bought it if it was a new one over buying this. But since I've bought it, you know, the little things that, the little extras does, you know, it does make a difference. And learning how to control the voltage and the wire speed. You know, I'm not used to digital. Never had anything digital, so not welder wise. So now you can go by this, and this will get you in a good ballpark. It's not going to get exactly what you want, but that will help you out a lot. You're going to have to adjust from this up, down, you know, a little bit, whatever, you know, you prefer. But this does get you in the ballpark if you go by their guide of thickness of steel. And another thing I found so far, I've never had the wire give any trouble inside. Okay, with the Millermatic, you know, that a lot of times, you know, you get if it stick to the tip, or if you had the lead in a really bad position to where it wasn't running the wire through right, it may tangle inside. I've had no trouble so far. I actually melted the wire to the tip one time, and on this machine, and tapped it a few times, and of course not coming out. I knew, well, I'm going to have problems in here. Well, luckily I didn't have problems in here. And I know a lot of people will say, well, you had tension too tight, but you know, the way my welder was working, if you released the tension off any more than what I had it, then you was going to have other issues of the wire not coming out. So, you know, I was in the happy medium area. So, but anyway, do I recommend it? Absolutely. Do I recommend it over a Miller? I do, price-wise. I'm not going to say the quality's any better. I'm not going to say the quality's any worse either, but good welder. Have no issues so far. I really like it, and I'm not regretting buying it at all. And I don't think anybody else would regret buying one if they got it. You know, I was always, my first stick welder I bought was a Lincoln, and I always liked Lincoln. And you know, you got people that, it's sort of like the Ford Chevrolet deal, but you know, this is really good welder. You know, I'm glad I went back to a Lincoln. I really am. And the price on this, you know, they offered the $499 rebate. It was a little bit of a pain in the butt going through, I think, 3 different times onto the internet to be able to get the rebate, and then they sent it to you as a card with a PIN number. And but it does make a good Christmas gift to give to somebody. But you know, it wasn't a bad deal. I think total, by the time I was done, honestly about $800 cheaper than what the Millermatic was. And they actually had a rebate going on at my local place. But to be honest with you, I could have bought this the same price at my local place as I did the Lincoln dealer I bought it at. But the fact that I bought this out of state, I didn't have to pay tax on it. Honestly, I mean, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but you know, if you're going to save a couple $100 in tax money, you know, that's just the way it is. Why wouldn't you? So anyway, I appreciate everybody watching, and if I do run into any issues or anything, I will update on it. And because I'm not going to BS on buying something, especially when you're spending your hard-earned money on it. So, all right, bye.